Here we go.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about understanding equivalent fractions, but before we start that, we're going to go ahead and do our 10-minute math. So everyone needs to get ready. You guys remember, you're going to look at this for 30 seconds. Try to remember it, draw it on your whiteboard.
3 seconds.
3 seconds, not 30 seconds. You're going to have 30 seconds to try and remember it. And then I'm going to cover it up during that 30 seconds, then I'm going to uncover it again, and then we'll talk about it, okay? So give me a thumbs up if you are ready to see it. Play is ready. Alejandro's shadow is ready. Guadalupe is ready. All right. Ready, set, maybe. Ready, set, go.
2,
10 more seconds, and I'm going to show it again. All right, I'm going to uncover it again, so I need everyone's eyes on the screen. Ready, set, go. All right, now you have 1 minute, and then we're going to talk about it.
the word multiplication.
Thank you, Ania, for giving me a thumbs up that you're ready.
Just like click on my picture.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and talk about it. All right, who would like to share the equation they got for this image? And we're kind of low on numbers today, so I'm definitely going to need everyone to participate. Alex J.
The equation that I did is 3 times 6.
So you saw 3 groups of 6?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And what does that equal?
18.
All right, who used a different equation? Ania.
I did 9 times 2 equals 18 dots.
Okay, and how did you see your groups?
So I saw 2 together, only 2, and then another 2, and then another 2, and then another 2,
okay.
and another 2.
So you saw 9 groups of 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right, did anyone have anything else? I think we covered it. The only other thing we could do is, this would be a kind of crazy way to remember it, is 18 groups of 1. I'm not surprised that no one chose that.
I do groups of 3.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started with the lesson. Who would like to volunteer to read our goal? Someone who has not spoken yet today. Clay, go ahead.
Our goal is to be able to identify equivalent fractions and justifying their reasoning.
Thank you, Clay. Okay, we are going to review real quick before we get into this. Who can tell me what a numerator is?
Yeah.
Ania.
The numerator is like the top number that is like the number that you shade in.
Yep, that's the number that's shaded. And Cynthia, what is a denominator?
How many there are in the whole?
How many equal parts there are in a whole? Good job. So you guys told me what they are and what they represent. So 2/3, if we were to draw that out, we would separate into 3 equal parts, and then the numerator tells us that we would shade in 2 of those 3. Good job, guys. Okay, who wants to read what the word equivalent means? Alejandro, why don't you go ahead and read that for us?
When two things are equivalent,
Equivalent,
they are the same or equal. For example, 12 inches are equivalent to the foot.
Yep, to
1 foot.
Yep, so equivalent means that they are equal or are the same. So that's what we're going to be talking about today with our fractions. We're going to find fractions that are equivalent. So to determine if fractions are equivalent, first we have to start with the same size whole. So what we mean by that is,
That's horrible.
yes. Who said Miss Weibel?
Sorry, it was an accident.
It's okay. So if we are comparing 2 fractions, they have to have the same size whole. Okay? So if I was comparing, this wouldn't happen, but if I was comparing 1/2 and 1/2, we know that that's the same. It has to be the same size. The wholes have to be the same size. I can't draw a 1/2 like this and then a 1/2 like this, right? We can't compare that. And then the shaded parts also have to line up. That would mean that they are equal. So that if we have the same size whole, but this one shaded to here, and this one shaded to here, those are not going to be equivalent because the shaded parts aren't lining up. We also cannot compare a fraction like this, 4 like that, to one that's divided in 4 like this, because they're not going to line up, okay? All right, we're gonna try one right now. So the top one, we are gonna draw out 1/2. So knowing what we know about numerator and denominator, Denise, how many equal parts am I gonna divide the first square into if we're doing it 1/2?
2.
Yep, 2. And Ania, how many am I gonna shade in?
1.
1. So that's our 1/2. And then for 4/8, Derek, how many pieces am I going to divide this second square up into if we're making 4 eighths or rectangle?
3.
Nope, what's our denominator?
8.
8. So we're going to divide it into 8 equal parts. And then how many am I going to shade in, Derek?
You're gonna shade it. Which one is we doing?
4 eighths. We're on the bottom one right
You're
now.
gonna shade in 8.
Not
No, 4.
4. Yep. All right. So somebody raise their hand and tell me, are these fractions equivalent or not? Clay.
These fractions are equivalent
And why are they equivalent?
because they're equal.
Yep.
They
So,
have to, that in the middle, they have a line that connects to each other.
yep. So the shaded parts are lined up. They stop at the same point, and the hole is the same size on the first one and the second one. These are the same size. So we're gonna do another one. Okay, Michael, how many equal parts am I gonna divide my first square into if we're doing 2/3?
And 2, 3.
Yep, 3 equal parts. And how many am I gonna shade in?
2.
2. And then my bottom one, Alejandra, how many equal parts am I gonna divide it into? For 1/4?
4.
Huh?
4.
And how many am I gonna shade in?
1.
1. Okay, Denise, are these equivalent?
No.
No, they're not. Why not? They have the same size hole, but what do we notice about the shaded part?
They're not the same same part, like same shaded.
Yep, they don't line up. So our 2/3 stops here and our 1/4 stops here. So that's not the same spot, so they're not equivalent. We're gonna do one more example. Cynthia, how many parts am I gonna divide up my first rectangle into for 2/6?
6.
Mm-hmm. And then how many am I gonna shade in?
2.
Yep. And Guadalupe, how many equal parts am I gonna divide my second rectangle into?
3.
Mm-hmm. And how many am I gonna shade in?
1.
Okay, give me a thumbs up if they are equivalent or a thumbs down if they are not equivalent. I should see everyone's thumbs. Thumbs up for equivalent, thumbs down for not equivalent. Looks like everyone is saying that they are. You guys are correct. So if I was to draw a line at the end of the shaded part, it lines up.
All right, y'all, I'm going to talk you through what your assignment is today really quickly before you go get started. And I do want to add one thing to what Miss Weibel was saying, and I'm going to go back one slide really quickly. Another way to think about this too, or say you know they're equivalent, is that even though the pieces are different, they take up the same amount of the whole, right? So this is 2/6 and 1/3 take up the same amount of the whole. So when we mean by equivalence, let's pretend this was a chocolate bar, right? If I had 2/6 of this chocolate bar and I would have 1/3 of this chocolate bar, I would have the same amount of the whole chocolate bar, right? So those are the same piece or the same amount of same part of a whole, even though the fractions are different. And that's what we mean when we say equivalence. All right, going through your assignment. So you have 2 different things that are your job today before you go off and do. Can everybody see? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my Canvas page right now. Good deal. Okay. So if you go to Monday and you go to math, you are responsible for both of these things, not just one or the other, both. Okay. The first one is equivalent fractions discussion. It says, are the fractions below equivalent? Yes or no, and explain your thinking in the discussion. Then respond to 2 classmates in complete sentences. So this one you're saying yes or no, these are or are not equivalent, and how do you know? All right, that's the first one. The second thing you need to do is the equivalent fractions assignment. All right, for numbers 1 through 3, it says say whether or not the pictures of fractions are equivalent or not. So you're just going to say number 1, equivalent or not equivalent. Number 2, equivalent or not equivalent. Number 3, equivalent or not equivalent, all right? Number 4 says which fractions below are equivalent fractions. So you're actually going to have to identify the fractions, all right? So you would say the equivalent fractions are 1/2 and 4/6, or are they 1/2 and 4/8, or 4/6 and 4/8? You have to decide. And then the last one says, what does it mean when we say fractions are equivalent, all right? So you have the discussion to do, and then you have the assignment to do. You need to do both, all right? You're responsible for doing both of those things. The lesson we did a good job of trying to do pretty quickly today to give you more time to work. You're also responsible for trying to get Dreambox lessons done as well, all right? We are really trying to make sure we get 1 to 2 Dreambox lessons done every day. All right, these people are going to stay